Hi, this is Greg Swanson, mental strength coach and owner of warriormindcoach.com. What I'd like to talk to you about today is the complacent zone. Some people call it the comfort zone, but you'll see why I call it the complacent zone, and weight loss, and why you get stuck and how to fix it. So what we're going to go over today is what the complacent zone is, what makes up the complacent zone, how to break through the complacent zone, and how does this affect weight management and weight loss. So when we're looking at weight loss, what we're really looking at is a change. And so change is something that moves us out of our complacent zone. And neuroscience has proven that the brain does not like to change, which brings us to mental resistance. And mental resistance is the conscious or unconscious rejection to change, mainly unconscious. And then we have this mental support, which is the conscious or unconscious level will go no lower than, or in this particular case, go no heavier than. And so the borders kind of look like this. On the bottom, you have this mental support, and on the top, you have this mental resistance. And right beyond that mental resistance are your goals. So where does this mental support and mental resistance come from? Well, they're created by our beliefs, our emotions, our values, and our past experiences. So it kind of looks like this. Our beliefs. I don't think I can lose the weight. Oh, I can't do that. I'm not good at diets. Of some values maybe, it's better to be liked than be thin. And family and friends come first. And then there's some emotions that may be in play here is what will people think? And then who will I be when I lose this weight? So as we start to make progress towards our goal, so we get closer to our mental resistance line, and that's when things start to happen. So as we start to lose the weight, we feel good. We're getting closer to this mental resistance line. We begin to make excuses and justify and rationalize why it's okay to back off, procrastinate, and take a break. So as you get closer to your goal weight, you may say to yourself, oh, I've been really good for the past 10 days, I'm going to have a slice of cheesecake now. Or I've been going to the gym every day for 10 days. I'm going to take a couple of days off. And you rationalize and justify and make these excuses. And this is when you start doing that, you know you're getting closer to that line of mental resistance. And so this is what happens is the yo-yo effect. As you can see on this diagram, you can see your goal is right above this mental resistance, and this mental support is where you're unhappy with your weight, with your current position. And so as you start making progress, we go up and down, but then as we get close to that mental resistance, fear comes in because now there's going to be a new you on the other side of that mental resistance. So there's this unconscious fear that happens. There's this procrastination, and there are these excuses. And so then you start to perhaps have that extra cheesecake, don't go to the gym and do some other things, and then you start to put the weight back on, and then you go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And we've heard this yo-yo effect in dieting. Well, this you can see very specifically. So as we bounce back and forth between our mental support and our mental resistance, we create our complacent zone. So in that complacent zone is everything you've already created. So if at the bottom left-hand part of this diagram, that's 200 pounds, and where the red dot is in the middle, let's say that is 150 pounds, well, you keep going back and forth. You've gained 200, you're back to 150, you gain 200, so you really haven't created anything new. And so this is that complacent zone. The brain kind of says, okay, I'm happy here. You may not be happy, but your unconscious mind says, okay, I'm okay here because this is where I'm supposed to be. So it becomes complacent. So this is why I call it the complacent zone, because it's, you're 200, you're 150, you're 200, 150. So it keeps going back and forth, and many people just succumb to that, okay, I'm somewhere between 200 and 150, and that's it. And that's the complacent zone. So really what makes up the complacent zone, so we talked about the mental resistance and the mental support being the beliefs, emotions, values, and past experience. But what makes up this complacent zone is the capabilities, behaviors, environment, and your story. So for example, your environment are people, places, and things. Your behavior is your habits and your routines. Your capabilities are your skills and your talents, and your story is just that, a story. So think about it. If you believe your capabilities, which is your skills and talents, are only limited, your behavior is going to align with those capabilities, or at least your belief of those capabilities. And then you're going to create an environment to support that behavior. That is, you're going to surround yourself with people who won't challenge you. You're going to go to places that are going to support your behavior, and then you're going to have things around you. So for instance, if you did truly want to change and you wanted to start cooking healthy, your capabilities may be that you can't cook healthy because you haven't had the instructions to it. So your behavior is, oh, I can't cook healthy, so you're not even going to try. And then you have the environment of fast foods and people around you that support that. So the complacent zone itself is comprised of those four categories. And so how do we break out of the complacent zone is to change the limiting beliefs and the destructive storytelling. Understand past experiences and emotions for what they are. And then we want to instill new capabilities, which will then create new behaviors, which will then change the environment. And so we want to talk about motivation at this point, because motivation is critical to taking action. And so you can see on this scale, sleep and boredom, alertness doesn't really produce that much of motivation. And then if you're too stressed and anxiety and panic, you also get the same results. You don't take any action. So there's this level of arousal, if you will, that's the optimum level for taking action. And when you can find that, working with a coach or working with some other person, maybe a personal trainer, you will be able to find where your optimum level is. And then with some strategic planning, you'll be able to break through that mental resistance. Now, here's the key. Once you break through that mental resistance and maintain that level for a period of time, that mental resistance becomes your new level of support. And then you have another level of mental resistance above that. So now you've created another, quote, complacent zone, but it's okay because it's a better place than where you were before. And this all adds up to success. And so there are four essential mental strength tools that I use in helping people break through this mental resistance. One is goal setting. Another one is mental rehearsal. Third one is self-talk. And the fourth one is energy management and motivation. So goal setting, what I like to do is look at creating a 1-year outcome. 1 year from now, where do you want to be? And then break it down into 4 smarter goals, a 1-month, a 3-month, a 6-month, and a 9-month goal. And then we look at what specific actions need to take place to achieve the 1-month, 3-month, 6-month, 9-month goal. We define where, when, and how those actions are going to take place. And most importantly, we anticipate any obstacles and how you're going to overcome them. See, the biggest thing with goals and diets and whatever you want to call it is we look at everything going smooth. But once we hit a bump in the road, we tend to get distracted or jump off the diet bandwagon, and then we go, well, I'm off now, I might as well go off for a week. Where if you can anticipate perhaps going out to dinner with some friends, you can plan how you're going to work around that. So I really go through with my clients, anticipating those obstacles and finding a plan around them. So mental rehearsal, that would be, so we have associated and disassociated. What that means is looking through your own eyes or watching you as a movie. But what we want to do is when we start to anticipate those roadblocks or those hurdles that we have to get over, we want to mentally rehearse how we get around them. And also we want to mentally rehearse how we get towards our goals. So we may want to visualize ourselves in the gym working out, visualize ourselves at home cooking a great meal, because then it starts to program our unconscious mind to change those behaviors. And then the self-talk is so important, especially with weight management. You know, once we, if you cheat and have a donut or a cheesecake, most of the time people will beat themselves up relentlessly for having that one. We need to be compassionate. It needs to be positive, and it needs to be supportive in this the self-talk. Because what happens is we tend to start to beat ourselves up so much that the brain will actually want to protect ourselves from beating ourselves up. So it won't even provide the motivation to attempt the goal anymore because it doesn't want to feel the pain of beating yourself up. So it's this cycle. So we have to change the self-talk to be compassionate, to be positive, and to be supportive. And then the energy management and motivation. We need to create some anchors, that is some things to hold on to that create this feeling of motivation. And then we have to have these triggers to fire them off. It might be listening to some great music before you go to the gym. It might be watching a specific cooking show before you start to cook your meals. And then we want to set up some intrinsic motivation. So how does it feel to you to lose that weight? How does it feel to you to go to the gym? And then the extrinsic motivation is perhaps the rewards for achieving specific goals. So what you've learned over here is what the complacent zone is, right? So those are the borders, the mental resistance and the mental support. What makes up the complacent zone, that would be your environment, your capabilities, your behavior, and your story. How to break through the complacent zone through goal setting, mental rehearsal, self-talk, energy management, and we went over on how this affects your fitness and your weight loss goals. So what I do is I work with clients to help them understand their personal complacent zone, how to identify unsupportive beliefs and behaviors, and then how to change them. And so I can be contacted through my website, which is www.warriormindcoach.com, or you can email me directly at coach@warriormindcoach.com.